Hey, good afternoon, First Additional Language. I'm sending this lovely learning event today, the 28th of September. Yes, it's also your assignment 2D day, and many issues I see arising. Seems like laptops are just crashing at this time. So just look after your laptops, your hard drives, everything's keeping your material together. If that all fails, use Zoom. You don't need any hardware. You can just use all the software and get your assignment in. So I'm going to share my screen now with you so we get going with today's learning event. There you go, slideshow. Yeah, okay. So we're on to the last part of Unit 2, the writing part. Your presentation forms a process approach, the different transactional and essay type writings. And in week 8, we're just going to look at different resources to make writing a fun experience in the classroom. Okay, so are you ready for this? Don't have to think anymore. You've got your writing resources. You don't need textbooks. You don't need anything. You can just start to do anything in the classroom when it comes to writing and looking at different and unusual resources. Okay, right, first my spreadsheet. Yes, week 6 did improve. 49 of 69 FETs did the online tracking and 97 out of the 135 SPs. So some people are having a bit of a fun time, but let's see how it goes. Week 7, you still got Sunday. That's the 3rd of October to complete that. And you've just started that. Assignment 2 comes in tonight. I will check out on those numbers, and I've still got to get all the SOAs and the late registration marks done. But we actually have the SP at the internal moderator. So we're hoping to get that to you next week early. FETs, some of them are still being marked. Okay. So well done for that. Definitely don't want a sad face because all my first additional languages are working hard. It's a bit hectic, I know, and demanding, but thank you for trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep up as well. Okay, so let's have a look at Unit 2. We've completed all those sections. And now we're looking at writing resources, how we can be effective and creative in the writing classroom without having to have a textbook or any other kind of material. And from Ferrero, there's a lot that she writes on various kinds of creative writing, right from page 161 to 174 in chapter 11. So check that out as well. We're not going to look at assessing writing. That's going to come in with assignment 3. It could have been a Moodle, but I might just upload some notes for you on designing appropriate rubrics for writing, but next week we're going on to critical literacy. Okay, so we're jumping into Unit 3 next week. It's a Zoom session and I'll see you there. So tonight's outline, we're trying to prevent boredom. Writing activities to prevent boredom in the classroom because we don't want our students to be bored. Definitely not, especially when it comes to writing. So we're looking at different writing resources for every stage of the writing process. And all of you know what the writing process is now, from the planning to the feedback, to the revising, to the submission. This is come up in groups of 3 because we're going to look at 10 different resources: diary writing, classroom letters, strange dialogues, short dialogues, strange stories, speech bubbles, pictures with minor differences, letters of advice from agony aunties, picture strip stories, newspapers for classrooms, completing stories, completing forms, fast writing. That's the last one for tonight. And I got this from an amazing book, which I'm really going to recommend to you. It's Vessels, Practical Guide to Facilitating Language Learning. And it's got just about everything from listening to speaking to reading to writing, and fabulous tasks, very well put out. If you want to have good ideas, I would really suggest this text as well. And there is the reference. So let's start with diary writing. This encourages our learners to write about their experiences, their thoughts, their feelings. It's so important to reflect on how you're feeling, what you're doing, and where you're going as well. This is a very informal and private way of writing, using practice and expressing themselves in writing, of course. Also develops creative writing skills when they learn to use the genre and the styles for diary writing. But we should always ensure there's privacy. So if they didn't want to share anything with us or anyone else in the class, that's fine, as long as they're writing in their diaries. I find that my students all love to share because I like to give them comments, but you have to respect their privacy if it is diary writing. So what about writing about good experiences, things that make us happy, like when you get your marks? Okay, no, it awakens happy thoughts when we read those diary entries. I make lots of comments daily in different readings, and often I have got very happy feelings when I read those thoughts because I'm reflecting on happy things in my life. If you have a look at this visual, she says lots of things that she likes as well. She loves my diary, my mom, of course, love, school, but there are a few things that she doesn't really like. Okay, her brother, pimples. I don't think any of us like pimples. I mean, boy, she's got a happy face and a sad face. So who knows how she feels about that. But she doesn't have anything read about her sister or school, so maybe she likes those as well. But writing about bad experiences and feelings is also good, because when we go back and read them, it gives us an opportunity to think objectively about what actually happened at a later date and make sense of those experiences. Okay, so when I read your letters to me that you wrote when you got your marks, I'd love you to read those again to yourselves and see how you were when you wrote those thoughts to me. And I'm sure you will reflect very objectively that you were writing them when you were very angry, but it does take you back to the experience. And that was good, because next time you have to write a letter like that, maybe you'll think more deeply about how you express yourself. Okay, watching you. So here's a diary entry for someone that wasn't very happy. I hate school. Maths. Okay, a lot of students don't like maths. And then I was embarrassed. Okay, so if you go back and you read this later and you think, well, yeah, maybe I now do that equation, but now I can do it. And I was really embarrassed when I slipped down the steps. Okay, so, but I've learned now to walk properly down the steps. So those are things you can reflect on. What about diaries looking at collection of words? Because often students don't have the words to actually express themselves in a way that they would like to. So let's have a look at how we can get them into collecting words. So how can we get them to collect words to make themselves express themselves clearer? So we've got a few stages here. So you can get them different headings on a spreadsheet. And for instance, sport, travel, animals, love, and then also positive words about those things, and then maybe also negative words. How can you express yourself positively? I like that. Wow, nice. That's very cool. But what about negative words? Definitely not. Oh my goodness, can't stand that. How do we express ourselves when we're saying words negatively? Listen to yourself as well. So that's stage one. If they've got the words in a list, topics, and they're going to write the words underneath that. And then they're going to compare their words. So you might say, okay, for sport, give us 4 words. For travel, give us 4 words. For animals, give us 4 words. Then you can do it in pairs with your friend. Then you go into groups of 4 and then groups of 8. Now, the beauty of that is that you're getting more and more ideas from friends. Okay, we're going to be collaborative. We're going to work together. With my friend, I might only get 1 extra word. My group of 4, I might get 3. My group of 8, I might get another 5. Okay, so these are ways we can get more words. Then 3, they can add to their list words that they like from somebody else. Isn't that nice sharing? It's very collaborative. And here's an example on this spreadsheet. You've got people. So initially we write 4 words: tall, petite, kind, and hurtful people. Okay, then they'll go and share with their friend, and they might add 1 word that they really like. 4, 8, and you can see how the spreadsheet can really grow. And you can also, the topics at the top there, you can also brainstorm them. And maybe if it's an essay, you might give different categories of words that they need different words for, and then they can do their collection of words in this way, especially using their pairs, their foursomes, and their 8s. Look at the young, different words for young: harsh, gentle, sad, happy, and nature. Okay, words that we can use in different ways in descriptive essays, argumentative essays, and so on. Right, what about writing about myself and friends using tables? Yes, I really like tables. So first of all, ask them to go and find a picture that reminds them of themselves. Okay, it doesn't have to be themselves, it could be any picture. It could be maybe a sunset is something that reminds them of themselves, or a rainbow, or maybe it's a puppy. Okay, you can select people, trees, hearts, storms, reminds them of themselves. Maybe you've had a storm, or they can draw an illustration if they're very arty, or they could have a picture of themselves. Step 2, they're going to write a paragraph then describing what they are like as a person, okay? Just a short paragraph, maybe 5 lines, and to include their personal characteristics as well as their physical characters, how tall they are, what is their weight, what's the color of their eyes, their hair, how thin are they, how tall are they, how chubby are they, how thin are they, right? Those kind of things. They can also draw a personal coat of arms, which is quite a fun thing to do. There's a South African coat of arms with no females in it, only males. Interesting. And here's a coat of arms. You've got the 4 sections. They can put their logo at the bottom. You can go and Google this anywhere, say coat of arms, and you get blank forms, and they can draw pictures in there, or they can draw things to represent their physical and their personal characteristics. Maybe they like running, there's somebody running. Maybe they like eating ice cream, there's somebody eating ice cream. Maybe they like flowers, maybe they like animals, maybe they like birds. Okay, maybe they like sewing. So those are things you could add to that. And my motto is from like, just do it, okay? So don't mess around, just do it. And maybe they've also got a motto that they could put at the bottom there. Okay, so this is another thing about writing about myself. I can also learn to write about my friends. So I am me, this is Marcel, I'm 14, I wish. What do I like? I like water, I like sport, I like food, and I like animals. I don't like potatoes, angry people, and homework. Then you've got Jackie in your group, and you've got Ayanda. There's their ages, and what do they like, and what do they dislike? So you've got this little spreadsheet again. We can go around to your friends or within your group. You can actually get this information. You can send it around, and you can write your things in as you send it around with COVID and all those restrictions. Okay, all the things I like, all the things I don't like. So then you're going to write number 2. Okay, so we finished number 1, getting words, getting ideas to collect words, getting ideas how to get ideas from friends as well. Classroom letters is also quite a fun thing. The other teacher has 2 boxes, okay, or 2 places. And in the one box, she's got each name times 3. So if it's a Yanda times 3, okay? The other box, she's got separate pieces of paper with 2 or 3 kinds of information on it. I'll explain to you now what that might be. The learner will go and pull out 3 names. If it's his own or her own, they must put it back. And then they're going to take a piece of paper with these 3 kinds of information on that piece of paper. And it could be things like birthdays, second names, brothers, sisters, the languages that you speak, your favorite mobile, favorite music, books that you've read, food that you enjoy. Those are the kinds of things that could be on the list. The teacher's got 3 on each list. So for instance, Jackie, Ayanda, and Thomas, those are the names I pulled out. And I must find out about them. What is their favorite food? What about pets? What don't they like, their dislikes? And then step 3, I'm going to write a letter to that learner, to the Jackies and the Yandas and the Thomases, to find out those answers to those questions. Okay, so it might be something like this. Dear Jackie, please can you tell me what your favorite food is? Can you also tell me whether you have any pets? What do you really dislike? Yours sincerely, Ayanda. So learning to write questions in this form to get the information back from Jackie. All right. This is also the classroom letters in step 4. After you get your information back from Jackie, Ayanda, and Thomas, you're going to record this information. And here's an example of a form that you could use: the name, Jackie, the date, what it was, the personal details that you've managed to get, likes, dislikes, hobbies, pets, favorite food, other information, the researcher. But you might have to travel around the class because maybe another student got the hobbies. You didn't get the answer to the hobbies. So in this way, you can go and try and get information about Jackie that tells you about what her hobbies are, possibly about her likes. Okay, you need that information. So you can try and complete this form by going around, and it's quite nice because you get to know your friends in a different way, and things that you might not have known about them. And you've got an audience because everybody wants to know what's your likes and dislikes. And the way ahead is that you can now, after you've done this, you can send an invitation to a friend in the class to go to the movies, or go skating with you, or come and play games with you, video games, come see a movie on Netflix at your place. So you'll have to give them the place, the date, the details, and all that kind of stuff. So you might have a main point sentence. Hi, Jackie, I'd like you to come to the movies with me. The details are as follows. And then in the second paragraph, all the details, the date, the time, the place where you can meet. And in the last closing part where you want the person to respond to you, you'll say something like, please let me know by tomorrow at 10 o'clock because my mom wants to organize the tickets or something like that. All right, so you must give that final thing. The same with the letter of congratulations. Your friend has won a prize, he scored a goal, they've got full marks. And the same thing, main point sentence. Dear Yanda, you've done so amazingly with your test, getting full marks. Please, next time we have a maths test, can I come study with you? Last sentence, please keep on getting those great marks because then we can maybe become very good friends and I can also improve my marks, something like that. Okay. Number 3, 10 of them, remember, short dialogues, strange stories, speech bubbles, and headlines. Okay, so ask them first of all to go and find an example. This is why it's nice to have magazines and newspapers in the classroom of short dialogues that you can find. Could be in a news report, strange stories that you can read about. Just look at the headings, you'll often see many strange stories. Speech bubbles, the cartoons, and different headlines that you like. Then ask them to write an example of their own, a dialogue, a strange story, speech bubble, and a headline. Then in pairs again, check your work with your friend, groups of 4 and groups of 8, check and correct the writing that they've done, get more ideas. Then you could share the examples with the class. You could role play the different little dialogues that you've got. So it can be quite a fun activity. And here's an example of speech bubbles. You look cute today. Thanks. And how can this dialogue continue with these two chatting? Or something like that. A says, hi, I need help, please. B says, where are you? A says, down here. B says, down where? Whoops, now I'm down there too. So little thing for them to practice and chat about. Strange story. It's a story about Polani. She was looking out the window and she saw this tiny little dinosaur. She blinked her eyes, but she couldn't believe what she was seeing. And then he raised his foot to knock on the glass and she was so stunned that she opened the window. Would you open it? And with one jump, he was inside and he started chewing up the furniture. How's that? Oh, don't do that, she says. And the dinosaur stops and says, why not? She says, because I haven't even paid for it yet. And she bursts into tears. The dinosaur sits down and says, very well, I won't eat your furniture, but please give me some wood to chew. So from that day on, they lived happily together with the dinosaur. He was considerate and a loving friend to her, lots of companionship, and she kept him well supplied with wood. Now, isn't that a strange story? I'm sure you've all got lots of ideas for strange stories. Speech bubbles, is nice to introduce them so they all know what the different kinds of speech bubbles are, what speech looks like, what a thought looks like with little bubbles, what a whisper looks like, what a burst looks like, explosion, what the radio looks like, what telepathic looks like, okay? So they could use different kinds of speech bubbles and find examples of them too in newspapers, magazines, any kind of cartoon. They maybe with stick figures do their own little cartoon. Yeah, we've got the first character on the right thinking A. Oh, I can't bear seeing that guy again. But he says, hi, nice to see you. And then what does C say, the guy on the left? So you could have a nice little conversation going in the first frame. Here's examples of headlines, obviously from COVID, no vaccine, lots of vaccine, pneumonia in China, epidemic, pandemic confirmed. We've got first wave, second wave, third wave, fourth wave approaching in December. So these are all things, examples of different headlines which they can take from newspapers and also create their own. I like word bubbles or word clouds. You can go and get any article, paste it into wordcloud.com, and there you can see what the most important breaking news is that's happening with anything. And yeah, we've got breaking news. It's about technology, business, living, travel, and things that are happening. But if you go on to where we are in our life at this time, COVID, lockdown, pandemic, outbreak, China, Trump is even in this. So this may be last year when we had the presidential elections and Trump was going to be president, he hoped, but there's a whole thing about hospitals and quarantine and all that. I looked at one for South Africa today, and there you can see again, it's COVID, there's Ramaphosa, Africa, there's lockdown, there's cases, there's health. Even Mkhize is mentioned here. President, Cape deaths, lots of the Cape there's wool, there's people. I'm sure a lot of travel will also be included now if we did another thing because of travel opening with us maybe getting off the red list. We hope so. You can see this is ENCA, SABC, all the news times that have brought together, and these are our headlines that we could actually create using these word clouds and create our own word line headlines using this information, which would be quite fun, I think. Number 4, pictures describing minor differences. And yeah, we've got pictures of the differences. You can go and Google this. You can just say differences, pictures with differences, and you'll get the most amazing different varieties. And you can have this guy here sitting on the left, it's nice and slender and slim. Guy sitting on the right, but better, I think, seem to be the same height. What are they similar? How are they different? So in pairs, make a list of the differences. One's slender, one's fatter, one's got a big tummy, one's got a thin tummy, but there's lots of similarities. Their stance, the way they're standing, their trunks are the same color, they're both looking in the same direction, they both have similar hairstyles, so there's similarities and differences there. So then each learner takes one of the 2 pictures and writes a paragraph to describe. So the one person's going to write about the thin guy and one's going to write about the bigger guy. So they each write about their different guys. Then they read each other's paragraphs, they make constructive suggestions or feedback, and then they're going to revise what they've written. They can exchange their pictures with other pairs in the class, with their paragraphs and their pictures, and then the pairs must now say, oh, that picture goes with this one, and that picture goes with that one. So hopefully they will be able to see the difference. And if you go and Google, you'll see here this person, they both got the same sitting positions, their kinesics are the same, where their feet are, even their jackets, the tops look the same, the pants are similar, but there are differences as well. Okay, the way they're really clasping their hands, the colors of their pants, and so on, how they're the same, how they're different. There's another one of the with 2 people standing, they're both looking in the same direction. One's obviously male, one's female. They seem to have similar tops on, but different colors. So those are things, their postures look similar as well. Those are things you can compare. Right, number 5, responding with letters of advice. This is your agony auntie. This, I think, is Dr. Mercy is the one in this one. Each learner gets a letter from a problem page. All right, so you're going to receive a problem, or you can also get your students to write problems and they can exchange them as well, but you've got to respond to it. Here's one writing to Dr. Mercy. Someone took his brother's motorbike and had a slight accident. The paint is scratched, but now the brother can't claim for insurance because his brother didn't have a driver's license, and he's very cross with him. He won't talk to him, and I am miserable. Can you help me, please? Unhappy borrower. So you don't put your real name, you put a pseudonym in there for your letter to Dr. Mercy. All right, then you respond. So you can write the letter and somebody can respond to it. So the learners now pretend to be the person, Dr. Mercy, and they write the answers. Dear unhappy borrower, because that's who the person is. And first, it gives advice of 2 things you must never do. Don't drive, okay, if you don't have a license, because you can really be in a lot of trouble. And don't borrow anything without asking someone if you can borrow it, because you could be accused of theft. Then they give him ideas of how they can go and earn some money. Obviously not very young, so they could go and wash cars, become a waiter, clean houses, work in gardens. And then when you've got enough money, give it to your brother pleasantly, not resentfully, so he doesn't feel uncomfortable about taking your money, but you have to pay back for what you've done wrong. So how would you structure your advice to somebody? Here's our picture strip stories. Pinterest, and I've got the link there. You can find lots and lots of these on Pinterest, so go and have a look there. You can see there's all kinds of frames here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a thought bubble, there's a speech bubble. How would you construct a story? And remember, you can do this in pairs, so you can construct together. It's a pirate comic strip. Okay, so you can, if you like pirates, that's what you might like. So each learner will receive a copy of a picture strip story without the words. Maybe initially you all get the same picture story, and then you can actually compare it, and then you can get your own one and you write your own one. They use the pictures to construct a story of what happened and what was said by the characters. That's number 2. Number 3, in pairs, they construct the story again, discussing it with a partner. Then each will write their own story. So you think about it, this is my story, then you compare it to your friends, and then you go again and you write your own story. Your peers then will correct and you will revise your work, so you get your feedback. Then you compare your story to the original story that the teacher may have. So this is quite fun. And you see here some examples of someone taking his dog for a walk. The dog sees the cat, they're all running along, even the dog is speaking, hit a tree, round and round they go, and the person ends up bound to the tree with all the leads and so on. And what is being said is the dog thinking, there's the cat there, and what is he thinking? There's also a car going speeding past in the first frame, the cop chases after it, eventually it stops, the cop walks to it, what's he saying? And then he looks in and sees a whole bunch of clowns in there. What are they saying? What is he saying? So it'd be quite interesting, but it's nice to discuss with the friend or group to get different stories. Here's the final one, 2 boys playing video games, having fun. You can see the eyes are big, enjoying it. Father comes in, shows his clock, get up to bed, there you go. And they're not very happy and he looks very angry. And then they look down from the landing and guess what Dad's doing? He's playing and having a great time with their video games. That's all he wanted, was to get them out. So lovely dialogue that you can actually create there together or individually. Newspapers is also a great thing because this can be a whole group in collaboration. You can do it once a week, once a term, once a semester. You could have your own little class newspaper. First of all, go and check the formatting of your newspaper. What do you require? And there's a whole lot of words that you can look at, from the front page headline to advertisements to different kinds of columns, to a fashion page, to a children's page, to crosswords. So they could brainstorm, or they can go through a newspaper and they can list all the things that that is there, and maybe they can select 5 things that they would like in their newspaper. There's the headline, there's the different articles, there's how you could put pictures in. Here's one from a newspaper from a class, and you can see here's the newsletter at the headline. Here's about the sport page, here's about school news, there's about reports and praise, things people have done well, and here's student life. So this is another example of different kinds of articles that you could have in the newspaper. Still going with newspapers. So in groups of 4, each group is responsible for a section. So we are the sport page, possibly. They all write a little article about sport. For instance, Jody is practicing hard for the athletic season. Is the school going to build a swimming pool? Tor Mopo scores the winning goal, and the green team wins the soccer again. So they're responsible for the sport page. They write their names at the bottom of each article. All members read each other's article, make suggestions, they revise it, then they submit their articles to the newspaper for publication. The 4th part is that 2 groups proofread each page before they are finally accepted. So you've got the editors that are going to go through it. If a group finds an error in another group's section, that group will lose marks, because remember, newspaper, you can't have errors in it. Then the group that finds the errors gains the mark. So they're going to be very critical editors, I think. So you've got your different stages that you can take this through with the editing at the end. Yes, no more errors, especially if it's going to be published. So what you can do, you can make copies of your newspaper if you've got a school with a budget that allows for that. Otherwise, you can make it on newsprint and you can leave it on the table where everybody can go through it. Groups can prepare different sections every time. So maybe this time they'll be the sports section, but the next time they're going to be the event section, or they're going to write some kind of article about exams or how to study, or the new tuck shop or the new food. And you could publish that once a month. Here's an example of a weekly report. Let me go back again. And you've got lovely articles there, like the Cubs win big against the Bears this week. Productivity tips, the second one, to help you in your examinations. Beginner's guide, classic literature, if you like that. And preparing your college application. Okay, those are different articles that you could have within your weekly report. Completing a story, these are quite nice, especially if they are mystery or strange stories. The teacher can give the beginning of the story. There's lots of incomplete stories, like Once Upon a Time, and you go on. In this first frame here, it's complete the mystery. It's about glasses. Julian's a very neat girl, and her mother walks into the room and everything is all over the place. She's unpacked her bag, she's thrown it on top. The shoes, which are normally neat under the bed, are all over the place. The clothes are everywhere. And mom says to her, "What's the matter? What's going on here?" And she says, "I can't find my glasses." Okay, I know how that feels. Here are mine. If you can't see, it's really a problem. And then you write the concluding paragraph, what actually happens. And this is where you can have a little bit of a twist happening. Here's the thing about glasses, about Kevin, who loves mysteries and solving them. His mom is supposed to drive him to his friend's house, and she can't, because she can't find her glasses. So it takes her through all the things that she did during the day. Where did you last have them? She said, well, I had them on when I was watching the news. Then I did this, then I did that. I went to the garden. And he goes and takes her through the whole day, trying to find out where are her glasses. And then you would write the final paragraph, seeing how he's taking her through this whole mystery of to find her specs so he can get to his friend as well. Here's another thing. This is just an introduction. It's about the world with no color in it. How would that be? It's a bleak day out here. The clouds are very gray, not a very colorful day. Maybe so I'm wearing a bit of a yellow here to give me some brightness. And off Norman goes. He's ready for school. And as he gets into this gray, dull, colorless world, he sees one beautiful flower hanging down there. And it's so different, this purple, vibrant flower. After this terrible gray world he's lived in, he heals for his mother. Okay, so is this the start of changing the world back to color? So a quite creative way of looking at how you can take this initial introduction and develop it into a story, which can be quite creative. Nice to get them to do this in group work too, so they can discuss what actually is happening in the world. Maybe it goes back bleaker with this flower, or maybe it becomes more colorful slowly. So think about that. Work application forms. Yes, everyone has to fill in forms. Today I filled in about 3 different forms for Stadio. So it's important to know how to fill in forms. What you can do again is you can think about advertising for part-time work, which is something all students should be doing, whether it's at home or it's at the local restaurant. And they can work in pairs to do this. They can decide on what position they're going to advertise, and then they can draw up the application form. What will they include on their application form? The name, the age, marital status, single, hope. Your qualifications, maybe grade 9, maybe grade 11. Health, good, hope. Previous experience, maybe nothing. And references, please don't have your mom or dad, or they have a teacher or someone who can vouch for you who's not a family member. Okay. And here's an example from Pete's Cafe, looking for a waiter or waitress. And here's the application form that you'd have to fill in to be interviewed, and this will be followed by interviewing your friend and your friend interviewing you to see who would get the actual position. Also a good idea to fill in forms. These can be also taken from the internet, lots and lots of forms, so they can get to know what are the kind of things we need to do to fill in forms. Think about last name. When I was in the UAE, it's family name, and what's the difference between a surname, a family name, and a last name? This might be pretty confusing. You might think it's quite straightforward, but maybe it's a good thing to do a form like this so students can actually see that there can be confusion when you fill in forms. Your address, your postcode, what is that? Do they know what a postcode is? Your telephone number, your mobile number. What do you do if you don't have a home line? What do you say in a form if that happens? Your email address, what happens if you don't have an email address? I think today you have to have an email address. What is the code? So those are good things to fill in. And the last one I'm going to do is fast writing, where you write very fast. This is good practice to increase proficiency in students. Students must not stop writing, and they must write whatever they think. And this is going to be a mess coming out your brain, because our brain doesn't give out very logical thoughts. So you just keep on writing, but let your students know that this might be very messy and clumsy and not grammatically correct either. So they must get beyond that. This activity helps learners to express themselves fluently eventually, because it forces them to write. But fast writing is going to be very full of flaws, and it's not going to be always relevant to what you're trying to say. So you write for 2 to 3 minutes, 3 times a week. So you can start with 1 minute. It's quite a long time to write without stopping for 1 minute. So start with 1 minute. If you've got a 1 minute to go at the end of your class, just say, okay, now it's going to be some fast writing, and have a whole lot of different topics. Food I'm going to eat this afternoon, and they write, okay. Where I'm going this weekend, and they write, and you time them with that. And then go again and look at what they've written later on, revise, edit, proofread, all the things that they can do. So if you can type, it's normally a lot faster. Sometimes I think my typing is fast, but when I look at what I've written, there are a lot of errors in as well. But it's good for them to write. It's good for gross motor functioning as well. Lots of websites with lots of ideas for resources. You see there's Pinterest, that you can go and have a look at. Lots of things from grammar to to essay writing, to all kinds of different worksheets that you can get from them. I've also got the College State Edu resources, and you're going to see what that looks like. Lovely writing to learn activities. Then free writing resources from English Purdue, the education department, great examples, all free. And also wikis to develop creative writing skills. And some of you also have developed that already. Yeah, we've got Purdue, the writing lab. We can go onto that, get lots of examples on what you could use in the classroom. Yeah, is writing resources. There's writing guides, links for writers from WAC. You can get lots of ideas from there as well. So what's next? We finished writing resources. We're actually finishing writing this afternoon. We can write fast, all the things we can do. We can use lots of editing, revising, but the idea is to use all the time in the class to actually practice writing, even if it's fast writing, even if it's a quick survey at the start of the class, comparing what we like or we dislike, but to actively get our students writing and to be collaborative and social in the practice of writing. That's not an individualistic activity all the time. The independent will come, but get them to practice together and keep up the writing this much because we love it. Our favorite is writing in the class. And then we go on to critical literacy next week. When we look at the meaning of language as it is used, we went through Ferreira for assignment 1, when we use different pronouns, when we use euphemisms, what is the social discourse we use to influence other people and to exclude and include others, a very important part of literacy which students really battle with. So I'm going to say good night and enjoy your evening. Happy submitting tonight, and I'll check in tomorrow. Take care. Be safe.